Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my living room floor. We are back with another reading vlog. You guys, I'm really proud of myself. I'm doing really well with filming the vlogs this year. I'm not doing very well with editing them so far, I'm not gonna lie. That's why things have been a little bit slow, but we're filming really regularly. I'm just not editing at all. This is my problem. So I'm gonna set aside some time to edit, but today I wanted to start a new reading vlog. So last night I finished Onyx Storm and I'm kind of still, I haven't really formulated my response to that book yet. All I know is that I need the next book immediately. I don't know if I'm going to mentally or emotionally recover from that for quite some time. And also I just feel like it's really cruel, honestly, for Rebecca Yarros to leave us on such a cliffhanger. Like, I'm sorry. Like, does she not care about our mental welfare at this point? Like, that's just honestly against my human rights, I feel. So anyway, I feel like I'm wearing Dragon Rider training outfits today. Like, this is what I would wear if I was riding my dragon around Basquiat. Well, actually I wouldn't, I'd have flight leathers on as well, but this is what I would wear underneath my flight leathers, FYI. So I'm just kind of channeling my inner Violet Sorrengail today, and I'm hoping that's gonna get me through my workout later. But that is by the by. Today I wanted to start a new reading vlog for the week, and we're just gonna mood read. We're gonna mood read my pre-moving to Texas TBR. So the first book that I'm reading this week is this one. This is The Last Raven by Helen Glynn Jones. And basically this is, from what I understand, a fantasy romance with our gal here, Amelia. And Amelia is a human who has been born to two vampires who happen to be the two rulers of this kingdom called Raven. Because she's a human, obviously all the vampires want to eat her. But because she is effectively like the first in line to the throne, they can't. But she also can't be turned because she has the blood magic already in her, because she's a direct descendant of two vampires. So it's a very interesting situation. And then this dude is her new guard, Kyle, who has been assigned to her as her personal guard because when she turns 18, as is the custom in this kingdom, she is going to inherit the kingdom from her parents. Now, it all sounds very well and good. My problem with this so far is that we are 2 chapters in and the writing is absolutely terrible. Like, objectively, some of the worst that I have read in quite some time. And I read some really bad books last year. This is bad. This reads like the most basic YA that you would read when you're kind of like 12, maybe 13. And you're just getting into reading books that are no longer kind of middle grade kids books. So you're starting to get properly into reading. But everything's still kind of spoon-fed to you a little bit because you're young and you need it, right? That's how this is written. And this is an adult book. I'm not having a good time yet, I will be honest, but I have the curse of the cannot DNF. So we're gonna continue reading it. So that's where we're at, basically. We've started this morning. I am on page 17 so far. It's not the best time. I did look it up on Goodreads, and the average rating on Goodreads is a 3-star, which I think probably says everything that needs to be said as well. Like, the reviews for this are not good. They're not good, but I'm gonna power through. I'm gonna persevere. And then I have 26 other books to choose from after I finish this for my next reads. And I feel like top contenders are Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, which is his new release, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, Bloodguard by Ceci Robson, and Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. I feel like those are the 4 that I'm going to be choosing from for my next read. But that remains to be seen because, I mean, I'm mood reading this week, so I could literally choose anything. Like, how exciting. My only rule is it has to be from this TBR because all the rest of my books are packed up anyway, so I can't read them. So the only other thing I could do would be to go out and buy more books, which sounds incredibly tempting right now, but we're not going to do that. We're not buying any other books until all of these have been read. This is the rule. And if I read all of these before I move to Texas, then I'm allowed to go to Barnes & Noble and get spendy. That is my rule. But I'm on my lunch break right now, so let's get some reading done. Okay, so immediately one of my issues with this book is that this new guard, he arrives and she's immediately talking about how pretty he is, which is fine. Okay, we've established he's very attractive. For some reason, she hates him immediately and she like insists that he's rude. So it's almost like an enemies to lovers. But then in the same breath, it becomes not an enemies to lovers, but then another breath later, it's enemies to lovers again. Like that's kind of how it's very weirdly written. Like it's not that he's mean and then nicer and then mean again. It's more how she's reacting to it, because it's like his actions haven't changed. He's just kind of like a bit of a grumpy guard. But she's like going from talking like he's her mortal enemy despite having only met him for the first time like that afternoon, to talking like he is just a normal guy, to then go, it's weird. Like, I don't know. It's just not very well done at all. And like this bit was weird. We're trusting you with our daughter tonight. Stella Ravenna is hosting, but you will have been briefed already. This is my father talking to Kyle. God. He sounds every one of his 547 years. I'm surprised he hasn't got his sword out. First of all, just that whole sentence just seems clunky to me. This is my father talking to Kyle. Like, why are you telling us? Why didn't the author just say, we're trusting you with our daughter tonight, Stella Ravenna is hosting, but you will have been briefed already, my father says to Kyle. Like, surely that makes way more sense than this is my father talking to Kyle. Also, how does this make him sound 547 years old? I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. But then he's saying that he's been briefed already, and then literally on the next page, the guard turns around and says, who's Stella Ravenna? Like, if he's been briefed, he should know, no? It just feels like just lazy and clumsy writing. Like, I don't know. I'm annoyed already. So I was bitching about this book inwardly so much while I was reading it that I decided to start annotating it so that I could effectively bitch about it to you guys. All of these grey annotations are for what the fuck moments between Amelia and Kyle. I've used nearly all of my grey tabs already, and we're on page 49. Every single one of these, except for the very first tab in the book, is for something that I dislike. So, does anybody else like hate annotate? So like, you know, the concept of hate following somebody or hate watching, which I personally, I don't do that. If I don't like a creator or if I don't like somebody or something, I don't typically involve myself with it or consume it because like, what's the point? This though, I dislike this, and yet here I am annotating it. Why? I don't actually know. I don't know. You guys, I don't want to say that this book is growing on me, but let's just say it's gone from being like a definite 1-star read to like I should really DNF this, but I'm not going to because the curse of not being able to DNF anything. It's gone from that to like maybe a 1.5 to 2-star, but like all of those annotations are still pretty much hate annotations. It's more like careless than anything else. So for example, there's like a scene where her and Kyle are upstairs getting some decorations or something, and her parents are having this conversation downstairs that's clearly supposed to be secret. And then halfway through the conversation, her dad yells for her to come downstairs, so she does, and she joins them, and then as soon as she appears, he yells at her to go upstairs, and her mum's like, go away, we're talking. I just feel like scenes like that, it could just have done with many more rounds of editing. That's my current kind of feedback for it. If it had been edited considerably better, I think it could be a halfway decent story because the actual plot is interesting. There's vampires and the humans are kept as blood banks, which I know isn't an original concept. We've seen it in a lot of vampire romantasy books, but in this one, she's obviously quite unique because she's a human born to 2 vampires, and therefore, although she feels like she's on the side of the vampires, she also feels like she kind of identifies with the humans, and she wants to go and see what it's like living in the little human safe quarter, safe haven thing. And then there's the talk of this human uprising, and this is what's kind of going to be, I think, one of the main overarching plots and the reason why there's going to be whatever drama that's going to happen. There's just been an attack on their Halloween ball. And it's like the anniversary of the Red Rising, which I'm assuming is the last uprising that the humans tried against the vampires. Now, all of this could be really compelling. She wants to get our buddy Kyle here to help her run to the safe quarter and to get away from vampire society and to try living amongst humans. That is her overall aim. And again, this could be really interesting if it was written well, but my problem is that it's not written well. The characters are so two-dimensional that at this point none of it's believable. These guys, they're hate to love. They're enemies for about 20 pages and then all of a sudden it's like insta-love vibes, but realistically there was no reason for them to be enemies either. She's just incredibly rude. There's so many things about this that have just been poorly done, and I feel like if it was completely rewritten and re-edited, this could be a very good book. But anyway, all that to say, I'm 150, no, that was wishful thinking. I'm 130 pages in, so I'm going to read some more of this later. I am completely addicted to a Netflix series for the first time in ages. It's called The Night Agent. Season 2 has just been released, but I'm still working my way through season 1. So honestly, that is what has me in a chokehold. I've just watched 2 episodes and they're all ending on the most monumental cliffhangers. So obviously I'm going to have to watch another episode now. And then I will read. So I've made the executive decision this morning to not post any of the vlogs that I have filmed previously to this one and to focus on this one instead, because for some reason the other ones just weren't hitting, and I've realised that my reluctance to edit them is because I knew that they weren't very good, whereas I feel like this is better. So here's me coming at you randomly halfway through the vlog with like somewhat of an apology, I guess, for not posting in a while, and then also for just kind of being a bit of a flake. But I just never want to post videos that I'm not proud of and don't feel good about. And so yeah, that's where we're at. Anyway, I didn't really read much more of this last night because I was tired after finishing season 1 of The Night Agent. So I'm still on page 130, and that is where we're going to be starting from today. My goal for today is to have this finished because before the end of January, I wanted to have finished 10 books. And so far, this is book 9, and I already am part way through another book as well. Also, random question, but I've just noticed I'm getting like kind of a weird rash or flush to my cheeks a lot of the time at the moment. Does anybody else get this randomly? And if so, what is it? Because I know I shouldn't really be like asking Dr. YouTube. I should be actually asking a medical professional, but my medical ID card hasn't come through yet, and so here we are. So if anyone can give me some ideas. Okay, team, we have finally finished The Last Raven, complete with anger annotations. I've rated this 1 star. Okay, my camera battery's flashing. So I will give you my full review in the morning, because as you can probably tell from the bags underneath my eyes right now, I am quite the tired girly. But I wanted to finish this before I went to sleep. Yeah, 1 star. Quite possibly one of the worst romantasy books I have ever read. I saw a review on Goodreads that said that the person thought that their frontal lobe was too developed for this, and basically that's how I feel too. I feel like the marketing for this book was totally wrong. First of all, it's got a spicy book sticker on the back, which leads you to believe it fits within the new adult or adult kind of category, whereas the actual reality is that the main female character is 17. There's very little spice in this. In fact, there's no spice really, honestly. And this is written as though it should be aimed at like 14-year-olds, maybe 15-year-olds. Like if I'd read this at 15, I would probably have eaten it up because I would have had no concept of like actual relationships and life and how connections work, and the fact that, you know, you need to be more than just physically attracted to your partner. So all that to say, I really did not enjoy this. But yeah, I'll give you guys a full summary of this book at some point in the vlog. I'm going to go and find my next book now, because I'm aware this is supposed to be a week-long mood reading vlog, and currently we're 5 days in and I've only just finished this because I've hated every second of it. So we're going to go find something that I'm actually compelled to read and that hopefully I will enjoy, and I will get back to you in the morning. Also, I'm going to go get my nails done tomorrow, so I'm really excited. I have been in what I could only call an undeniable reading slump since finishing Onyx Storm. Also, I look fucking awful today, Jesus Christ. So I still haven't given you guys my feedback on The Last Raven, and I figured now is the time. We're going to do that, and then we're going to discuss my current read, which is The Favourites by Lane Fargo, because although I have been in a reading slump, this is bringing me back to life. And I recognise that sounds dramatic because I literally read Onyx Storm, then The Last Raven, and then this. So it's hardly like I've been in an epic reading slump, but The Last Raven was difficult to get through. Whereas this, I am storming through it. Oh my good God. Actually, you know what? We're going to talk about this first. This is so good. The amount of people that have said it reminds them of Daisy Jones and the Six. And that was what kind of drew me to it, because I really love the way that that book's written. I love that it's a mix between interviews and kind of documentary style, and then the actual narrative. It really breaks it up, and with the chapters being so short, it makes it so fast-paced and so compelling. So I thoroughly enjoyed reading that. This is formatted basically exactly the same. It's short chapters, it's very fast-paced, and then those chapters are interspersed with documentary style transcripts. This basically, if you're unfamiliar, follows a group of ice dancers that are at the very top of their game in the US. We've got Heath and Kat, and then we've also got Garrett and Bella. And Garrett and Bella are the twin son and daughter of a 2-time Olympic gold medal winning ice dancer. And so they're trying to live up to their mother's expectations, and then Heath and Kat come from a very, very different background where they don't have the same level of support. They're not financially well off, and so they struggle with finding the money for coaching and costumes and all that kind of stuff. And they get this opportunity to do like a summer camp with the twins' mother. And then this is when their career just kind of takes off. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to it than that. This really delves into the relationships between all the dancers and kind of the passion and everything behind the scenes, the relationships, the friendships, the breakdown of those, the reorganization of things. Like, it's honestly so good. This is almost as if Gossip Girl meets Ice Dancing meets Daisy Jones and the Six. That's kind of how I would pitch this, I think, at this point. I'm about 50% of the way through. I've been, like I say, racing through this over the last 24 hours. And my main goal today, aside from packing up more of my apartment and getting everywhere clean and tidy, is finishing this because it's so good. I want to inhale it immediately. And then I think for this vlog, we're going to try and read one more book together, potentially. Maybe not, because I also do have to travel on Tuesday and I kind of wanted this vlog to go up at the weekend. So, I mean, we'll see. I have another video scheduled for midweek, but we'll choose my next read together regardless, and maybe we'll start it and then finish it in the next vlog. But anyway, I'm just really enjoying mood reading because although I'm mood reading from like my prescribed pre-Texas move TBR pile, it's all things that I'm kind of excited to read. And then because I went book shopping yesterday and bought a ton more books as well to add to that, which I really shouldn't have done, but oh well. It's also making me excited to read some of those too. So anyway, that is The Favourite. I'm on chapter 35. I am loving it. This has got real kind of 5-star potential. I think it will definitely be more than a 4-star. I'd say it's either going to be a 4.5 or a 5. Also, when I finished Onyx Storm, I originally rated it as a 4.75 because it was good, but I wasn't sure if it had the 5-star feeling. However, in hindsight, it's a 5-star. I made that same mistake with Notes on an Execution last year. And Notes on an Execution ended up being one of my favourite books of the year. So because I've been dwelling on Onyx Storm so much over the last week, it's fine, it's official, it's a 5-star read, I don't care, I'm changing my original rating. So now on to The Last Raven. I can't remember, honestly, what I said in the clip when I finished it the other night, but obviously I was very tired, it was nearly midnight, and I just wanted to get it just done so I could go to sleep. This book, I think, I mean, I annotated it, but I think I said the other night, these weren't annotations of like, oh my God, these are bits that I loved. Every single one of those annotations, aside from 3 or maybe 4, were things I hated. This entire book just made me really angry. So basically, I think this mostly just suffers from really bad marketing because this has been marketed as kind of like a new adult book. It has a Spicy Books label on the back of it. So obviously when I picked it up, I imagined spicy books, it's going to be new adult, right? That's just kind of the natural conclusion that you're going to get. And when it said vampires, romantasy, spice, I didn't necessarily think it would be the best thing I ever read in my life, but I was assuming it would maybe be similar to like Blood Orange by Karina Halley. Is that the first one? I don't know if that is the first one actually, but the Karina Halley vampire books, for example, or even like a more adult version of Twilight or The Vampire Diaries. Like, I love vampire books, I love vampire shows, I love vampire movies, and I love teen vampire stuff as well. Like, it doesn't have to be adult stuff, it just has to be done correctly. This, first of all, features a 17-year-old female main character, so straight away you know it's not going to be super spicy because she's literally 17 years old. It read to me like a young adult book. It read like this had been written for like a 14, 15-year-old. And I think if it had been, and if it had been marketed correctly, this would have been a fine YA book. This would have been absolutely fine. The problem is it was marketed for adults, and so therefore it's lacking so much that you would expect in an adult book. It's lacking world building. It's lacking a coherent plot. The romance is so insta-love but also insta-hate to begin with, and it's not backed up by anything. The characters are so two-dimensional. She's like absolutely hates Kyle for literally no reason for the first like 3 chapters of the book, and then suddenly she's obsessed with him for no reason for the rest of the book. There's no redeeming quality to this man to make her so obsessed with him, and also no redeeming quality for her to make him so obsessed with her either. It's purely just based on the fact that he's pretty. Like, I have literally no clue why their relationship kind of was the way that it was. It didn't make any sense to me at any point throughout the book, and it didn't develop at all. Same with like all of the characters. None of them had any depth behind them whatsoever. We don't know why Ruth behaved the way that she did. We don't know why Bertrand was the way that he was. We don't know why Ira was the way he was. There needed to be more. The only character that I would say has the potential for a little bit of depth, because this is a duology, I will not be reading the second one, But the only character that had the potential for some depth was Michael at the very end, because at least his motivations were a lot clearer. And although, again, his whole thing was super obvious, I felt like the deception by a certain character was obvious from the very beginning. Like, it was just too predictable. It was just too predictable. And I went back and forth. Like, to begin with, this was a 1-star. Then I was like, no, okay, maybe it's going to creep up to a 2-star. Maybe. It didn't. It was a 1-star read. This honestly was just, it had no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Absolutely none. I'm actually at the point where I'm kind of mad that I spent money on this, but at least it was in a buy one get one half price thing at Waterstone. So I'm going to pretend that this one was the one that was half price, because I just feel so betrayed by how this was marketed and the premise of this book and what it could have been. It could have been good. It could have been good. If it was marketed to young adults, like I feel like it was written in the style of, then this would have been fine. And if I'd read this at 14, I would have eaten it up. I probably would have been feral for Kyle as well, for absolutely no reason, because my frontal lobe had not developed yet. And I feel like I would have enjoyed it. But at 33 nearly, this was not the one. Not the one, my friends. So anyway, I think I'm gonna pack a box now and go clean my bathroom, so that I've at least done something productive with my day before I get sucked back into the favourites, because once I get sucked back into this, I ain't putting this down, aside from to cook dinner later. I'm just laying that out there. I also want to do some journaling tonight as well. I'm thinking I want to do like a recap page from January, and then I also want to do some like Texas mood board pages, maybe gather some like inspiration for apartment decor, that kind of thing, which I mean I do on Pinterest anyway, but sometimes it's nice to just put stuff like that in a journal. So I think I may do that. You guys, I've barely done any of the things that I needed to do, because this book, holy crap, I'm having the time of my life, honestly. I think this is gonna become one of the elusive 6-star reads that I so rarely encounter, because it is just that good. This has everything that I love in a contemporary fiction novel. Literally everything. This is definitely, in my head now, surpassing Daisy Jones and the Six, which is probably my favourite contemporary book of all time. That one, or Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but this is surpassing both of them now, honestly. I am so emotionally invested. I am so caught up in these characters. I feel so anxious at what I'm about to read that I feel like I want to throw the book across the room, but at the same time, this is so good. This is so good. If you guys haven't read this yet, if it's not on your TBR, add it to your TBR, because this honestly, I feel like this is a very strong contender for Book of the Year, and we're only, what, like 2 days into February? Just saying. You guys, I have a significant problem. Like, a really significant problem. I just finished this after completely binging it over the last few hours. Like, I've done nothing all afternoon but read this book. This was sensational. 6 stars. Amazing. My problem though is, like, I've read Onyx Storm, which was a 5-star. I've read this, which was a 6-star. What the hell am I supposed to do now? Like, how do I move on from this? Like, how? Because clearly anything that I pick up now is going to put me in a reading slump naturally, because I've just read 2 sensational books back to back, pretty much. I mean, we're just going to pretend that The Last Raven doesn't even exist, right? So I've just read 2 sensational books back to back. How on earth does anything ever compete? Like, this is the genuine problem in my life. I'm legitimately concerned, because reading is the main thing that brings me joy in this world, but how is anything going to bring me more joy than this book just did, or than Onyx Storm did? Like, I feel, not to be dramatic or anything, but I feel that there is now a void in my soul, and I don't think it can ever be filled. But for real though, you know, well, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if this is a me experience, or if this is like a universal thing. But when I was younger, like, I've always read books voraciously my entire life, right? It's been my entire personality since I was old enough to, I don't know, support my own fucking head. And I used to always, when I was a kid, feel like a real sense of achievement when I finished a book, right? There was that sense of real satisfaction when I finished a book. And then as I've got older and older and older, that satisfaction's gone. I think because I read so much that every time I finish a book, I'm like, yeah, okay. And then it's almost like an on to the next one kind of feeling. And it's not because I'm rushing through books because I'm rushing through them for the sake of it, but it's more just like, I read all the time. I can't function mentally if I don't have a book on the go. Like, I really, my life ceases to have any meaning if I'm not consuming literature. And so therefore, I read a lot of very good books, but I read a lot of very mediocre books as well because of just the sheer volume. And I'm sure that's the same for everybody who reads a lot. You know, probably the majority of books we all read are rated 3 stars, you know, which is just like average, not good, not bad. Well, good, but like not like exceptional, but not bad, if you catch my drift. So I think when you read a majority of like 3, 3.5, 3.75 kind of rated books, when you finish them, you're just like, yeah, okay, on to the next one. But it's when you read something like this that leaves you feeling bereft afterwards. It reminds me of that feeling I used to have as a kid when I read. It's really special. This book's really good. I read the acknowledgements afterwards, and the writer went to a workshop with Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I think that is really evident in the writing. Like, she's not emulated Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing style, but she's been able to pull off something as accomplished as Daisy Jones and the Six and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And I think that's really spectacular. And I love that so much for her. I just love this book. I think this was wonderful. This is easily the best book of the month pick I've ever made. And honestly, this and my love for this book alone is the return on investment that I've needed for a year's worth of membership. Not that I don't love book of the month, because I do. It's like my favorite day of the month is when I get to choose my monthly book of the month pick. But this, and this whole book, this justifies a year's worth of subscription alone. Like, this was fantastic. I loved this. I'm going to make this my entire personality now. You have been warned. Guys, I cannot for the life of me decide what to read next. I've currently got all of the new books that I have assembled this weekend, and I'm reading the first line of each of them to see if any of them are appealing. And right now, Kingdom of the Wicked is currently the one that is winning, or potentially The Catcher in the Rye. My current thought process is that I have to remember that whatever I pick now is going to be what I take with me this week while I'm away for work in Houston. So, for example, like, I would love to read Reign of Shadows and Endings, but because it's so chunky, I don't really want to take that traveling with me. And the same with a hardback book. I really don't want to read a hardback. I was debating taking The Poppy War and starting that from scratch again. But I know that this is going to be an emotional reread, and I don't know that I want anything that's going to make me cry. So far, these are our 2 options for my next read. But I'm going to check the rest of my TBR pile now, and then I'm going to come back to you in a second with the final few books to choose between, and then we're going to select the next read. But right now, I feel like Kingdom of the Wicked is winning. I read the first page, and I was actually quite, like, intrigued by the setting, so... Okay, so this is the problem of being a mood reader, because I currently have like 7 books that I'm trying to choose between. So I'm going to show you guys the shortlist and then the ones that are like the top of the shortlist, if that makes sense. So we have A Slow Day's Fast Company, The World, The Flesh, and LA by Eve Babbitt. This one I feel like is one of the top contenders just because it's so short and ditty. And like, I've read the first few pages a couple times and I'm really intrigued. Kingdom of the Wicked, as I said before, this one is also a top contender because the setting has really intrigued me. The Catcher in the Rye, again, because it's not too long, but I don't know if this is just going to be a little bit, bearing in mind that I'm going for a work trip, and the whole purpose of this book that I'm going to read is going to be to distract me between now and when I fly, take away my flight anxiety, and be something lighthearted in the evenings for me to decompress from work. So I don't know if this is going to fulfill that requirement. I don't know if this is going to be more heavy going, being a modern classic. Fang fiction, very strong contender. Vampires, Damon Salvatore vibes, absolutely 10 out of 10. These Violent Delights, I feel like may fit the bill for more like fast-paced and compelling, especially given the fact that it's YA. But I don't know that it's a top contender. Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. Again, this could be a top contender. Vampires. Damon Salvatore vibes. Need I say more? Also, I love Carissa Broadbent. And then we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. which I've been meaning to read for like a bazillion years. And I also got this at the airport on I think my first ever Houston trip. So that, I feel like that's a good omen. So I don't know, you guys. I feel like I need to read some first pages now of all of these and then make a decision, and then I will fill you in on said decision. Okay, friends, I think I've settled on Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. I started reading the first page and now suddenly I'm 3 chapters in, so I feel like that's a good sign. I don't know if I'm going to love this as much as the rest of the Crowns of Nyaxia universe, series, whatever you want to call it. I know that this is basically a standalone novel, so it's not part of the main series of different duologies, but it is set in the same world, and I don't know if these characters in this book are going to make an appearance in the new one that's just been released and the next one that's going to be released. So I wanted to read this before I read the new one, so that I'm fully caught up before I read the latest one. So I'm just about to start chapter 3. I have no thoughts or feelings yet, but this is what I'm reading right now. And then if by some miracle I finish that before I go to Houston, next up will either be Fang Fiction or Kingdom of the Wicked. And then I think I want to read Slow Days, Fast Company really, really soon, but I feel like I want to annotate this, and I'm not going to be in an annotating mood in Houston, so I think this is going to stay behind, and then I'll probably take one of these 2 in my case with me for if I finish this, or if I finish this beforehand, then I feel like it's probably going to be Kingdom of the Wicked, honestly. But yeah, I feel so blessed because I have so many books I'm really excited to read. Like, how lucky am I to have a full pile of books that I'm like so excited for that I can barely choose between because they're all super intriguing, and the first pages and first chapters and stuff are like make me want to read. Like, I'm so lucky. So anyway, I'm going to wind down. I'm going to read some of this. I think I'm going to probably finish this vlog tomorrow when I've got a few more thoughts on this book for you guys and just a little bit more footage. I want to get this vlog finished before I go to Houston so that I can edit it when I get back and have it live at the weekend for you. But yeah, I'm going to wind down, I'm going to read some of this, and I might watch a video on YouTube as well before I go to sleep. So I'll check in and say goodnight when I'm ready to fall asleep. Team, I never came on here to finish the vlog, and now it's like several days later. But here we are, I'm going to finish the vlog. But before I do, I wanted to give you guys a bit of an update on the 2 books I have read in the past few days. So we will start with Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, which I finished yesterday, I think. I really don't know how I feel about this. I gave this a 3 stars because it was just average. Like, it wasn't bad, but it didn't have the usual Carissa Broadbent magic that I really love and appreciate from her books. When I was reading the Goodreads reviews, there was one person that said that this felt just a little bit rushed, not quite as thought out as the rest of the Crowns of Nyaxia books have been. And I would agree with that. I think that's it, because so I've only read the first 2 Crowns of Nyaxia books and the 6 Scorched Roses novella, and all of them just felt a lot more believable in terms of the relationship between the male main character and the female main character. You really believed in their compatibility, you believed in the chemistry between them. And with this, I just didn't get that. Like, I really just didn't believe in the relationship, and I think that's one of the reasons why I was just kind of meh about it. Like, it was okay, it wasn't bad. Would I recommend this to people? Honestly, probably not. I don't think you need to read this as part of the Crowns of Nyaxia series at all. And I'm intrigued to see what the 3rd Crowns of Nyaxia book is going to be like. I won't read it now until after I've moved to Texas because it's packed away, but I'm curious, but it's kind of made me not in a mad rush to pick it up. I did, however, buy the Daughter of No Worlds trilogy this week because I've been meaning to pick it up for like months and months and months. And then I found out yesterday, thanks to TikTok, that it's just been picked up traditionally. And so, me being me, I wanted the indie published versions of the books. So they're still available on Amazon, or they were as of last night. So I ran to pick them up before they're taken offline. So yeah, I'm going to read them at some point, obviously, because I've now bought them, and I'm curious to see what I feel about that series. I've heard a lot of people say it's really good. I don't know if they prefer it to Crowns of Nyaxia, or if it's just like as good as, but kind of different. I don't know. But yeah, and then I've just finished Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I've read this in 24 hours, which probably speaks to my thoughts on this book. I love Ali Hazelwood. She's one of my auto-buy romance authors. The only thing I won't buy of hers is Checkmate, because I'm not a YA girly. And so for me, I feel like reading one of her YA books is probably going to just lack some of the Ali Hazelwood spice, honestly, that I really love. I find her adult romances so unbelievably believable. I'm so fond of them, and I just love her writing. I love the couples that she creates. I really loved getting to see Adam and Olive in this one. That was just like a nice little treat. Is this one my favourite of hers? No. I think I give it like a 3.75. I prefer her STEM romances, honestly. This was just, I don't know, it was just lacking a little bit for me compared to her usual books. So I'm trying to think what I would rank her books, honestly. Like Love Hypothesis was the first one I read of hers, unsurprisingly, and I absolutely loved it. I gave that one 5 stars. Love Theoretically I gave 5 stars. I can't remember that. So the first 3, all 3 STEM ones I'd given 5. And then I read Bride last year when that came out, and I didn't love that either. I wasn't a huge fan of the kind of supernatural elements. Like, it just didn't do it for me in the way that her books usually do. This was much better than Bride, but it still just wasn't there for me in terms of it was lacking that 5-star feeling. However, one thing I will say is I really do love the way that her female main characters really stand up for themselves and are really strong to their beliefs. That was especially evident in this book with Scarlett, and I really appreciated that. And I really appreciated the way that things like boundaries are represented in this book. I think it was done really well. So yeah, this is like a solid 4-star for me. I enjoyed it. I'm really glad I picked it up. I'm a little bit sad it's not a 5-star, but I still really enjoyed it nonetheless. And with that, I'm going to end this vlog, and I'm going to go and choose another book to read, because it's only like 8 p.m. I decided to go to bed super early tonight because I've just not been feeling 100% today. So I'm just going to sequester myself in bed with another book and just chill for the rest of the evening. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for all of the love on my recent Barnes & Noble haul. It's very much appreciated. And I will see you guys in another one very soon.